Yeah, very good morning to everyone. Well, Kunal mentioned a little bit about my background. I'll talk a little bit on the personal front. I'm actually a Singaporean, born Chinese. I speak Mandarin. 我说中文，但是今天可能我没很多时间准备，so I'll speak in English. Apologize for that. But part of the stuff that I'll be sharing are very Chinese relevant, and I hope you really will enjoy. So I want to really share the journey of what I've gone through when I first arrived in China 3 years ago, being asked by Diageo to actually head up the marketing team for the Johnnie Walker brand, which is the #1 global brand, Johnnie Walker whiskey in the world. And I remember stepping into China then, and really looking at it starting from a consumer perspective and really questioning and my understanding of what are the Chinese consumers, what's the difference between the 70s generation, the 80s generation, and the 90s generation. I'm not a born national Chinese myself, and I really naively want to really understand the difference of the different generations that we talked about. And it has been an amazing journey, and I'm going to share with you 2 of the key initiatives that we have done in China for the Johnnie Walker brand. You might have seen it, you might have not, but I just would like to take you through some of the key initiatives. So before I go into that, I want to really start with who are we, Johnnie Walker whiskey. Is anyone familiar with the Johnnie Walker whiskey brand? Does anyone drinks Johnnie Walker? Okay, I don't see much over that side. So 谁喝黑牌？尊尼获嘉？ Okay, so it means that I still have lots of job to do. I'm glad that my boss is not here. Yeah. So we are actually a Scotch whiskey brand. It has 200 years of heritage. It is, started in Scotland in 1820 by an extremely pioneering entrepreneur, Alexander Walker. And how he started this business was he actually had a grocery store in Kilmarnock, one of the places in Scotland. And it actually started as a tea blender. So he blends tea, not whiskey. And then he took the blending whiskey, craftsmanship, and he took it into whiskey. And he started blending Scotch whiskey, okay? And thereafter, he started taking Johnnie Walker, not only made it a very, very pioneering brand in Scotland, he took it around to many, many countries. And here we are. This is a visual imagery of what the Johnnie Walker brand looks like, especially in China. Okay? And if you could notice, you see this striding man there, or we call it in Chinese, 行走的绅士. Basically, it's really represented by the fact that he got, historically, he got one of the cartoonists that actually draws out his father, Alexander Walker, and that created Johnnie Walker itself. Okay. And I want to share with you what is Johnnie Walker brand purpose. I know Chris in the morning talks about the fact that yes, we are a FMCG product, we are drinks, but actually what brands that really resonate is actually the brand purpose. So we have a brand purpose which is a universal human truth, which is about inspiring personal progress. Or in other words, in Chinese, 永远向前. Okay, that's the brand purpose. So we started with really understanding who are the 80s generation. Just give you a picture of who are the 80s generation in China. What do they do? What are their beliefs? What their values? What their psychographics? Okay, and we did more work to look at what their status means to them. And I know China is going through different phases of evolution. We start realizing that, to them, status is not really just about financial and cash wealth. But if you look at the right-hand side, status actually evolved quite massively beyond a statement of financial wealth, but also how fulfilled you are, especially with the young generation. Okay, and we also know, which we will hear later on, that the Chinese modern man is actually super connected. I mean, Chinese in terms of its usage of mobile and internet is probably one of the highest in the world, okay? And then we also look at in Asia world, especially where I come from, and also predominantly in China, you look at role models. Okay, but we also know that for the young generation, the role models might have evolved. It's no longer who on the left side, but who on the right side. You know, for example, like Ma Yun, for example, like Han, who boldly and strongly believes in pursuing their dreams and pursuing paths that have never been done before. Okay, and that was a survey that we did, and we realized that a lot of the young Chinese actually dream about, you know, entrepreneurial dreams. Okay. So we came up with this campaign, which is building on this insight of, you know, the Chinese 80s generation want to shape the progress of their nation in order to authenticate the keep walking value. And the campaign idea is called Words of Journey. Basically, words that inspire a generation. And if I translate into Mandarin, 用一段话来影响一代人，尤其是80年代的这群消费者。And what we did was we actually partnered and found 12 really progressive individuals and pioneers in China from different facets. You know, some of them are really successful people, and we asked them, what is this one word that you could actually share with the 80 generations that will actually inspire them to keep walking? And what I'm going to share with you is a snapshot of what they said in the films.
就是为了争一口气儿。
你一定要知道你想要什么，然后去全力去追，全力去实现。
你做的事情呢要有创造力，最好是别人没有做过的事情。
我不要安稳，我不要平衡，
主动的选择一种危险的东西。
困难都是提高你自己能力的考验。
碰到头破血流，依然要坚持走到最后。
每一个过程就是你在探索，你在追求，你在寻找自己，
让自己最美好的时候、最有梦想的时候，能够在舞台上全部绽放出来。
啊！一直往前走，直到成功。
Right. So basically what we did was we worked with two giants. I'm sure the Chinese will notice both of them. We worked with Jia Zhangke, which is a very, very well-known, documentary film director who really believes in our keep walking values. And actually, we worked and created with him 12 films of these few pioneers that you saw in the film, which I'll share with you who they are. And also at the same time, because the 80s and 90s generation, they are inspired by people like Han. We got Han involved in our digital participation and get him to initiate conversations about with the 90s generation and talk about, do Chinese 80s, 90s generation really have dreams? Okay, and these are the 12 pioneers that we work with. Some of them, come from, established industries like Pan Shiyi, and for example, Xi Bing, really famous contemporary artist, and also, like Wang Doudou, the Chinese dancer. And also, we also work with, for example, those that are really not well known, but they are starting their journey of keep walking. Like Siew, a young entrepreneur and an e-commerce vegetarian entrepreneur. And we made 12 films of them, and actually it's all about their keep walking journey, how they actually go through their journey of progress, and so as we can inspire the young generation. And what I'm going to, and obviously this was done through Jia Zhangke and 6 of his apprentices who shot these 12 films. And what I'm going to share with you is actually 2 of the key films. I don't have time to probably share 12 films, but I'll share 2 of the key films, and both of them are actually my favorites. The first one is Wang Keqing. For those who don't know him, he's actually quite a famous a journalist himself, and actually share his journey. The second one is actually, I'll talk about the second one later. So let me share this film.
谁呀？是我，王克勤。01年我做兰州股票黑市案的时候，我接到了一个恐吓的电话，说如果你再要调查下去，我们非要把你给杀掉不可。我觉得你们已经把这些人害得这么惨，总得有人站出来说话。我说这个事我管到底了。
这是我刚拿到的检测报告证据，你看一看。
好，那个麻烦。20年新闻生涯，遇到的危险的事儿很多了。大家像这样的故事，在这些年的采访中，经常会遭遇。按照我们甘肃兰州当地的土话，我就是一根筋，一根筋就是倔强，傻傻的，一个胡同走到底，碰到头破血流也要坚持走到最后。就好多人说你怎么就这么好管老百姓的闲事，老百姓的痛苦，老百姓的这种悲情，老百姓的这种遭遇，你能管得过来吗？我觉得我这个人心太软，就是看到别人痛苦和受难、受罪，我心里就难受的不成。
我刚才也说了，就是说我不求什么发展。我只求孩子，我孩子有个生存权就行了。
记录，你看一下刚才做的记录。我说我当然，所有的事情管不过来。你给我签字，在你名字上。事情的改变总是一点一点，我能帮一个人就帮一个人，我能说句公道话我就说句公道话。所以就是努力了不一定能改变，但是不努力将永远不会改变。
If you notice, in the campaigns, we didn't really show a product, and we deliberately took that bold step because we want to connect people with the brand purpose itself. So just to really highlight. The second film I want to show is actually, it tells the story of this lady called Zhang Ying. She's a very busy mother herself, but because of her belief in dedication in actually helping with the young kids, young infants and young orphans who actually has AIDS. She actually dedicated her life in terms of really helping that. So I'll share the second one. It didn't come up. Technical glitch again. Oh, okay, came out. 出来了。Okay.
我叫张颖，我就是阜阳人。我上大学的时候去的北京，后来工作也在北京。
应该有吧，应该有地方。
知道，反正他们也是。为什么成立这样一个协会？当时还没有，我们国家还没有儿童可以服用的，这个治疗艾滋病的药物。我也是一次很偶然的机会下乡，我当时就是跟王教授，我们下乡去看望孤儿的时候，看到了楠楠， 看到奶奶穿的也很少，病的已经很严重了。爸妈去世了，叔叔奶奶也不敢接住他。我就觉得呀，我得给他钱，得给他买点吃的，给他买点衣服穿。我也是有孩子挺晚的，33岁才生孩子，可能是也刚做母亲，那个感受特别深。哎，这就是闪闪的奶奶。
啊，对对对。
嗯。燕子几点放学？
燕子
啊
，5点多。
哦，5点多也快了。每次吃完药都打个勾，记得这一张纸别放丢了啊，下次要来检查的。这些，每天要刷牙，早晚要刷牙，啊。这样就没想到，像这样的孩子一帮，后来就这样到1年年底的时候就190多个人，第2年400多，再往后就800多。
有过美丽的梦，有过蓝蓝的期待，却无法摆脱那命运的安排。
有时候就是这个星期六待完了，一天陪完孩子了，晚上坐火车赶回北京，就是星期天下午陪几个小时，8点钟给儿子送完学校，回家整理行李，然后再11点50坐火车再赶回来。
我还有多少爱，我还有多少泪，让苍天知道我不认输。
10点进啊，不能输。过程中遇到很多心酸呀，其实压力呀、痛苦都挺多的。其实这种动力、勇气呀，都是孩子们给我的。可能我就像一支小小的蜡烛一样，给这些孩子们的心里边有这样一个光亮，就像人在迷路了，在黑暗中，这一点光亮是很重要的。
So those were the two examples of the 12 films that we made, and that was just a start because I think the big part of it was actually how we activated, and we really focus on trying to get the 80s generation to be part of this journey ourselves because we know of these statistics that's quite different from that of US. Whereby 88% of Chinese young consumers probably is actively in the blog. I mean, this is old data. I mean, now it's really moving into WeChat already. And what we did was we want to take this platform and actually we activate it really massively in the digital space by using a blend of paid and owned media. And actually we have a 365 always on daily conversations with the consumers itself, just sharing with you what we did. And it's actually activated across all these portals and channels which you're really familiar with all these partners. And that's just an example, sorry about the technical issue, but how we actually use different media to really drive conversations. And integration was key. Content was a key part of this, and media are just vehicles to help us drive participation. So, for example, just an example of when we first start this, we actually start with a press conference, followed by conversations on Han, priming the market with the making of films, and actually launching this in premiere. Itself. So that was the whole campaign platform that we did. And what was the results? The results then was about 73 million consumers 44 million media value. And of course, I mean, some data that I can't really share, but it did raise equity massively. It shifted our brand preference scores massively versus our nearest competition. And you know, so these are some of the consumers' verbatims who actually we got. You know, so for example, right at the left, you would say that, you know, one of the consumer actually say that I haven't really seen this type of advertising, and as a result, I will consider buying Johnnie Walker. And just some of the accolades. So we won about 13 over awards across different campaigns. And I was told that probably this campaign actually started the journey of a lot of other brands actually using the model of digital films or 微电影 as a result. So as a result of this campaign continue on. It's not 1 year, it's 2 years, it's 3 years. We end up, you know, in the second year working with a very well-known celebrity, Chen Kun, and told his Keep Walking stories. And actually, we institutionalized a Keep Walking fund to actually encourage consumers in China to actually pursue their dreams. And it went on for about 3 years. So this is sharing of the first initiative that we did. The second initiative that we did was quite out of the box, and probably it's really the first in the world that's ever happened for the Diageo brand and the business, or the Johnnie Walker brand, which is the Johnnie Walker House. Okay, and what did we realize, or what were the insights that we're saying? I mean, from judging from the hands that raised just now, we realized that there's still a big opportunity to really teach Chinese consumers to appreciate whiskey or Yangjiu in essence. You know, a lot of Chinese consumers might not really differentiate between what's the difference between a cognac or a whiskey, what's the difference between a ganyi and whiskey. You know, to them it feels the same. And we also know that because of the affluence and the travel around the world, consumers are getting more and more interested in really trying to understand the differences, and also because of the fact that China is a really important imported spirits for us and a luxury market for us. So we wanted to create an original and premium Johnnie Walker brand experience that actually targets at the really high net worth VIPs in China, who have propensity and interest in the whiskey culture and has the ability and affordability to buy into this category. And it all started with this simple inspiration. You know, like Alexander Walker, we have blenders. So blenders are those people who actually make our whiskey. You know, they blend different type of whiskey that come together. And this is what one of the blenders says. When we talk to people about blending, we don't talk at them. 我们不是跟他们就是说好像教材式的这么讲话。We actually talk with them. It's actually quite an intimate conversation, and we call that a whiskey conversation. Okay, so we created this rich, immersive, premium experience that tells the Johnnie Walker story, tells what Johnnie Walker is all about, and probably bring the first experience that I've ever had as a newcomer to whiskey from Scotland into China, okay? And 3 years ago, we started with a space, totally different space that, you know, tells the Johnnie Walker story, okay? This is a glimpse of the Johnnie Walker house in Shanghai. We launched this 3 years ago in Shanghai. It's actually at Sinan Mansion. It's not open to the public, it's by invitation only, and that's where we do a lot of mentorship. And what I'm going to show you is actually take you to a virtual tour of what this Johnnie Walker house is all about. Okay, video. So you might be really scratching your head and wondering, what does this space, are you guys trying to become a luxury brand or a retail store itself? What does it have to do with Scotch whiskey? We probably revolutionized the model a little bit. This is where we educate people about the Johnnie Walker whiskey, the culture, how do you enjoy whiskey itself. You get to have conversations with your friends. But it is actually also the place whereby, only the limited editions, which is only available in China. So there are limited high propositions, collections that only based in China. So one of the innovations that we have is that high net worth consumers can actually come in and customize a cask for his daughter's birthday, etc. So because of the success of this first house, after 1.5 years, we actually launched another house in Beijing, which is 4 times the size of Shanghai house. And why in Beijing? Because it's just in the capital of China. It's where all the 圈子 and the social circle are for across arts, social, whatever scenes and etc. And I don't have a video on that, but I'll just really quickly walk you through with some visuals. So you will see similar models, but it's done in a scale that is quite different. It's 4 times the size of Shanghai house. This is the entrance that you walked in with itself. Okay, these are the walls that you take through, and we personalized and contemporized some of the Chinese culture into it. This is the blending table. This is where consumers actually learn about whiskey with our master blenders. Okay, this is a place that you actually can have intimate conversations with your friends. And these lockers are where our patrons who buy into our membership actually gets to store their liquor if they can't finish it in the house. An example of one of the lounge, okay, and one of the rooms. And at the bottom of this place, we actually have what we call a Niang bar, which is open to public, open for events, open for conferences, open for big dinners, which we conduct across different luxury brands and partners. Okay, so I hope that you enjoy this story of how Johnnie Walker actually tries to take a global brand and personify it and localize it in the Chinese relevant way. Happy to take any questions after that. We are still in the journey of conquering this world and making more people drink Johnnie Walker. Thank you.